All right, everyone, welcome back to the Stag Project. I'm your host, Sebastian Valentin, and today we're going to be doing our very first book review. And the first book we're going to be reviewing is one that I read a couple weeks ago. I finished it a couple weeks ago, and it has helped me through the past couple weeks kind of change my mindset personally based on different things that have been happening in my life, and it's helped me a lot. So I thought it was a great book to choose as the introduction to this book review series that's going to be part of the mental pillar, as I kind of explained in my last video. And so to reveal the book, we have here The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. So I'll kind of be I'll break up this video into different sections. So it'll start off with just me giving a quick, summary of what the book is, then what were the results of the book, what did I gain from the book, what did I learn from the book, what am I personally going to apply in my life after reading the book. I'll talk about some strengths and weaknesses after that, and then after that I'll give my recommendation on why you should or should not read the book, kind of like what audience it's tailored towards if you're interested in reading the book. And this formula is going to be followed throughout every book review I do. So this is just kind of the beginning of it. I'm going to be messing around with it, iterating as I go along, but generally it'll follow this same format. So here we go. We'll start with the summary. So for those of you that aren't aware, The Obstacle is the Way is a self-improvement book by Ryan Holiday, and what it essentially does is it takes different historical figures and it explains their rise to fame, essentially. In some respect, it explains kind of how the obstacles that they had to face in order to get to their status of greatness, or whatever you want to call it, for each respective historical figure. And the way that they did it is through different Stoic teachings. And then Holiday, he extrapolates those teachings from these historical figures and kind of tells you as a reader, okay, how can you apply these same teachings and look at obstacles in your life the same way? So it's not necessarily guaranteeing you're going to be the next, Amelia Earhart or George Washington, which are two prominent figures in the book that are talked about, but it'll tell you kind of how to deal with obstacles that are in your path through a Stoic lens. The book is covered in 3 different sections. You have the first section, which is perception, kind of how you see the world. Action is the second section, so what you do. And then will is kind of how you endure everything that happens to you. And really the main point of the book is to take what we see as bad things happening to us and flip them around to see them as opportunities. And that goes for everything. And a lot of people might be thinking that doesn't seem like there's always something that's really bad that you can't flip around and make it good. And the book basically argues the opposite. There's always something, even in the bad, something that can be turned into good. So I'll be going over next, kind of what those specific things are, in the results of the book, kind of what I gained, each little excerpt that I'm picked out, and all that kind of stuff. A quick note about this book too is that it follows the general formula of a self-help book. If you've read self-help books before, you'll kind of see the same formula. It'll be an example story or whatever, and then how you can apply it, tie it into your life, that kind of thing. The structure of it is very different, and I'll cover this more in the strengths and weaknesses, but I just wanted to point out that the structure matters to the book, and I wanted to include that in the summary, because as we'll see further in the video, it matters a lot to the book and how the book is built. So what did I learn from this book? What were the results? What can I apply in my life at the end of the day? And hopefully, what can you apply once you read the book, if you decide to do so? For me personally, one of the biggest things I saw from the beginning of the book, after reading, I think it was the perception section, after finishing that and about halfway through action, you see a lot of themes related to emotional intelligence and how the book kind of guides you through increasing your emotional intelligence. Here I have a quote written down: "This cannot harm me. I might not have wanted it to happen, but I decide how it will affect me. And like this quote directly from the book, that is something that's really powerful. You know, not a lot of people look at the world that way. They don't look at the world. They kind of just, they see something bad that happens and they try to, you know, blame it on the universe or blame it on this, blame it on that. Like they get angry, they get upset. It affects them and it takes over their entire, you know, mood. And this happens to all of us. It's a natural human thing. I've done it myself. Like it's happened to me where something small will irritate me or bother me and it will take over my mood. It'll, you know, ruin the moment, I guess you could say. The point of this quote, though, is to kind of tell us that we're in control of what we let affect us. So we don't have to let it affect us. We don't have to get annoyed by the small and little things. And another quote here that I've written down is, we can question that impulse. We can disagree with it. We can override the switch, examine the threat before we act. So again, tying back, say you're driving and you got a slow driver in front of you. You can choose to incite a little bit of road rage, get mad, say a few curse words, whatever. Or you can see it as it is. Like you can recognize that I'm getting a little impatient, I'm getting a little annoyed, but let me control myself and let me not give in to these like primal urge of just getting pissed off and screaming or whatever. Like realistically, that doesn't give you any value. You know, you're letting your emotions in that moment take over. And it's better for you to consciously stop that and not let your emotions take over so you're in control. Another great thing I learned from the book is there is power in staying focused while committing to action. And this is directly tied to the action section of the book. A quote that I found that really, I feel like encapsulates the whole thing is, persist in your efforts, resist distractions, discouragement, or disorder. Essentially, what it's saying is whatever you set out to do, and it's not just about saying what you're going to do, but what you're actually doing in the moment when you're setting out to physically do, keep going at it. Don't let the small things, I'm not saying don't have attention to detail. I'm saying don't let things like distractions and discouragements, that kind of thing, a lot of disorder, disorientation, don't let that affect you from completing the action. And a good example of this is, I would say, starting a YouTube channel. You know, when you start a YouTube channel, you have the support of your close friends and that kind of stuff, but there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to bring you down. There's going to be people that try to say this and that about, you know, how you're operating the channel, like how you're organizing things or how you're doing this or that. They're going to try to muddy the waters inside your head so then you're not thinking clearly and you're not, you know, if you let the emotional side of it take over, you're going to stop, you know, maybe making videos, or you're going to try to just follow exactly what they want to see. And that's the key here, is to persist in your efforts. You know, take the action you see necessary and keep going at it. Keep doing what you have to do in order to advance in that skill or in, you know, whatever it might be, that YouTube channel, to continue pushing out content, to continue creating the image. Don't worry about what the other people have to say too much. You know, you choose, remember, you choose how much you take in and what you'll take in and how much value you'll attach to it. Next up, I have one of my favorite lessons in the entire book, and that's to iterate and fail. It's in the action section, and it's actually the chapter is just called Iterate. It's literally it, and it's a beautiful chapter because the end of it is probably the best thing that I've read in a while, and I saved the quote here too. It says, "Failure shows us the way by showing us what isn't the way." Very simple, very easy to understand. It's essentially telling you like rejection or a failure shouldn't be deemed and shouldn't be seen that way. It should be seen as a redirection. So something didn't work out or something didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen. Fine. Look at it objectively and then turn the other cheek and be like, okay, where is this redirecting you? You know, one door closes, a window opens, or whatever, however that saying goes. You know what I mean? Like, when something doesn't work out in our favor, we have to realize that it's for a reason. which I'll get into the next point, but it's for a reason, and we should start looking for the next available way and the next available thing that might be for us. And this can be hard. And I've struggled with it. I'll be the first to say it and admit it. Like, I've struggled with the fact of like letting go of something that I really wanted to happen. But once you do, you'll find a lot more peace in yourself and in your life. And you realize that there's so much to this life and there's so much in the world. There's so much to offer that, you shouldn't be stuck on just one thing. You shouldn't be just focused so heavily where you lose track and sight of everything else just because of that one thing. And lastly, as I somewhat alluded to in the last point, is everything happens for a reason, and we should appreciate all situations in life, even if they seem like they're bad. From our perception of it, we should accept what is happening and what is to come. As I mentioned earlier, everything happens for a reason. There are things in life that we cannot control. And we should take those as opportunities to grow and learn, no matter how hard or how good or whatever they may seem. And this works both ways. Usually it's not talked about in the other way, but it's usually talked about in the sense of something bad happens to me. I need to flip it around and see it as like a positive or as like an opportunity, which is true. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, but a lot of people don't see like, oh, when something good happens, use that as an opportunity to learn as well. A lot of people, something good happens to them and they just take all the pleasure of it and they live in that pleasure and they kind of they let the lesson fizzle out, because there's also a lesson in the good. We should take that lesson and also, cultivate it and try to understand what it's trying to teach us. So look at both good and bad, which Stoics kind of said, don't label things good and bad. But as we go on along our daily lives, we're kind of in the habit of saying, oh, this was a bad thing or that was a good thing. As you do that through your daily life, try to look at what opportunity is it giving you? How is it the bad or good thing? What is it teaching me today? So to quickly wrap up this section of the results of the book, I want to talk about what I am personally going to start implementing in my life after reading the book. It's just 3 things. First thing is more in control and positive self-talk, kind of the conversations you have with yourself and in your head, they matter. And you need to learn to question the value and helpfulness of these conversations that are happening internally. Like, is it actually helping me to grow, to learn, to see things differently in life? Or is it just destructive? Is it, is the language negative in the sense that it's just going to bring me down and I won't have a mindset to really tackle the day? Another thing is life is an adventure and it shouldn't be just a checklist. You shouldn't be just checking things off every day. You should be learning and growing from all your failures, from all your successes, everything. Everything should be a learning opportunity as you continue and grow throughout life. And that is essentially the third point too, is to take everything as a lesson, to learn from everything, to see what you can gain from everything that's around you. Everything, as we talked about, what's perceived bad, what's perceived good. Realize that everything that happens is for a reason, even if it's beyond our control. And that for me personally, if I just see things as opportunities and as things that are meant to come into my life and happen to me, it'll inevitably pay dividends in my development as a person. All right, moving on to the next section, which is the strengths and weaknesses of this book. I'm going to start off with the strengths. And there are more strengths than weaknesses. I really tried to sit here and think of strengths and weaknesses, and I found a lot of overwhelmingly positive strengths. So for the strengths, it's great for anyone who wants to get into self-improvement. It's a short book. It's less than 200 pages. It's an easy read. The chapters are short. They're like 2 or 3 pages, and then it's like another chapter. The longest chapter is like maybe 4 or 5. And just that, it's super easy to digest and to read. Everything flows naturally and flows very easily. There's a lot of value that comes from the stories of the historical figures, and even experts can reconnect with Stoic teachings by revisiting a book like this. And then that was the second point. The third point is at the end of it, there's a reading list that kind of extends to different Stoic teachings, different Stoic authors, and kind of their original works, and how you can keep growing as a Stoic learner. So I really like that aspect of it. You know, it's not just this is the end-all be-all book. There's more out there to learn, as it's constantly told in the book, and it gives you a full list of that. Ryan Holiday gives a full and complete list of that, which I enjoyed that. A weakness of the book, I would have to say, is it can be somewhat elementary for someone who has been studying Stoicism for a while. Like, you can find some of the themes a little bit, not repetitive, but like you've already learned and you know about it. So it won't affect you in a great way that it might affect someone who's new to Stoicism. So for more experienced people who are in like the self-improvement genre, that kind of thing, applying that into their lives, it might be a little elementary. I can't say the word. Elementary. Nonetheless, it is a great book overall, which leads me to the last part of the book review, and that's the final recommendation. Me personally, I say read the book. Honestly, it's a great book. It's short. It's easy to read. It has a lot of value attached to it. It's not like, it'll take you, honestly, if you're a slow reader, it might take you like a week to read. It's not that hard at all. I read it in a pretty moderate manner. I read like maybe 10 to 15 minutes a day, and I finished it in about a week. Overall, though, just the lessons and the topics talked about in this book are helpful for anyone. You don't have to be a self-improvement guru. You don't have to be into the genre, the niche. You don't have to be super deeply involved into it. It can help you kind of shape and fix a broken mindset that you might have. It can help you grow and develop the current mindset you have. So it's look at it as it's going to help you one way or another. There's no real negative, I would say, in reading a book like this. So for anyone in their self-improvement journey who's starting it, I highly, highly recommend. Anyone who's more deep into their self-improvement journey, it's a good read. It's not going to kill you to read it. You know, it's not going to harm you. It might not give you as much value as someone newer to the niche, but still, it has its moments where it can help anyone. So that's going to do it for this first book review. Thank you guys for sticking with me through it. Very interesting to record it and to kind of just see everything fall into place. But no, it's definitely been fun, and I can't wait to do the next book review. I already have an idea of what the next book is going to be. Won't have any spoilers though, but please let me know what you guys thought of this book review and of this video in general, and maybe ways I can improve to tailor more to your guys' needs. So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.